Well, hello again. Welcome to Horror in Detail. First story. This story was shared by you/fearless Ioli 5956. The truth about skinwalkers. A few years ago I dated this Native American girl from the Southern Ute Indian Reservation in Ignacio, Colorado. Me at the time being a black 20-year-old from the hood of Baltimore, Maryland, knew almost nothing about Native American culture, legends, or any of that stuff. So when she first told me about skinwalkers and that they're real, I just knew I had to learn everything I could about them. And what did I do? I went to her hometown for a few months and learned a bunch of stuff about skinwalkers. So I'll pass down to you, the reader, all information, scary stories, and lore I've learned from her family members and friends during my time in Ignacio, Colorado. Disclaimer: all information in this post was told to me by people on the reservation. These are not my own thoughts or opinions on skinwalkers, but things believed to be facts by some of the Native Americans in the area of Colorado and New Mexico I have had a chance of speaking with. So without further delay, let's learn about skinwalks. Skinwalkers are witches. So for starters, skinwalkers are definitely witches, not cryptids or whatever else you people are calling them. They are witches who possess the power of shape-shifting. Lots of people in the town told me skinwalkers can be from any tribe but are usually Navajo. Then again, the Navajo and Utes typically don't like each other from what I've seen. If you want to know why, research Skinwalker Ranch. This could be true, or it could just be shit talking between tribes. People in the town who have claimed to have seen skinwalkers would describe them to look differently. Since they shape-shift. Her uncles claimed to see one that looked like a big hairy thingy, another guy said he saw one that looked like a huge white dog creature, and her cousin and her friends said they saw one that looked like a goat with big eyes standing on two legs wearing a jacket. Weird, right? There were even people in the town suspected of being skinwalkers or just indulging in bad medicine, which basically just means witchcraft. These people are known as bad medicine men. There are good medicine men as well, but these good medicine men are not skinwalkers. They can, however, combat spells put on a person by a bad medicine man. Don't whistle at night. One thing that attracts them that most of you probably knew about is whistling. People on the reservation would actually get upset if anyone were to whistle at night. My girlfriend actually told me this story of when she was younger with her friends during nighttime out in the boonies, which is basically just the middle of nowhere. She kept whistling just to be an asshole and piss her friends off. She only stopped when something in the distance whistled back the exact same way she had whistled. Now this could have just been a weirdo whistling at a young girl for whatever reason, but that theory seems a lot less likely when you take into account she was at a friend's house and the closest neighbor was about a mile away. They don't care for outsiders. If you were hoping to see a skinwalker in person and aren't Native American, don't have any relationships with Native Americans, or live near a Native American reservation, you may be out of luck. It's believed around there that skinwalkers usually won't show themselves to someone just visiting the area, especially if that someone isn't native. However, if you spend a lot of time, and I mean a lot of time, in the area, you might catch one. They can't directly harm you, but if you're afraid of them, they will fuck with you. Usually, I see people online saying no Native American likes to talk about skinwalkers cause that catches their attention. Well, everyone in Ignacio were really open to talking about them, especially her father, even though he himself said skinwalkers know when you talk about them. When I asked him why he still talks about these shape-shifting witch monsters without fear of them catching on, he told me he flat out wasn't afraid of them. In fact, he wanted smoke with a guy he thought was a skinwalker cause a skinwalker scared his Hispanic girlfriend so bad she skipped town, illegally crossed back over the Mexican border and stayed in Mexico for a while. He told me skinwalkers won't outright attack you or kill you, but they can still cause you harm. They might do this by jump scaring you and causing you to crash your car, killing your livestock or casting spells. If a skinwalker or bad medicine man gets a strand of your hair or something else of yours, they can cast a spell on you, causing you to become sick or giving you very bad luck. They've even been known to separate couples, just like how they scared his GF back over the border. Eventually she came back and told everyone about her skinwalker encounter, but I'll tell that story another time. Now that's just some of the info I got while I was down there. I have even got scary stories and shit too. There are even things in the Colorado, New Mexico area a lot scarier and more unexplainable than skinwalkers. This story was shared by you/the Demon Queen Luna. You know the legends about skinwalkers, right? This past October, I had worked at a haunted attraction at a local theme park. I was pretty good at managing the big crowds, but what I really enjoyed was when the crowds would get smaller, and groups of 10 to 20 people were coming into my attraction. During times when the crowds were thin like that, I loved scaring them with stories and legends I knew about, and one of my favorite legends to tell them were the Skinwalker legends. I would start off, greeting the group, and tempting them with the offer to tell them all a story, asking them if they would like to hear a local legend, as we live in the desert, and this haunt was tucked away in the heart of miles of desert land. When they would agree, I would start my tale. Some of you may know about skinwalkers, and for those of you that do, you might know that native Navajo and Hopi tribes are fearful to even speak of this creature, or to even utter its name. These monsters span from southern Arizona, all through to New Mexico and the Mexican border, and across the lands of the native peoples. The Navajo believe them to be witches or shaman, an evil being with the supernatural power to shape-shift, typically by wearing the skins or masks of the animal they wish to walk as, a practice which is looked down upon by the Navajo people. This power is gained after killing a close relative or sibling, and imbues the being with many dark powers. The animal they appear as, however, always looks wrong. A deer or coyote that stands on its hind legs and walks as a man does, a crow or owl, or has a face or eyes that look too human to belong to the animal they mimic, and that glow red in the moonlight. In all the legends, it says there is always one sure way to identify a skinwalker. A skinwalker, no matter what, will never be able to move as the creature it appears as in its animal form. Skinwalkers are able to do other things as well. They can move at seemingly impossible speeds, and can mimic the voice of people, crying babies, your friends or loved ones' voices you would trust. They will lure you out into the forests or into the pitch black of the nighttime desert, and once they have you isolated, and you lay your eyes upon their face, it is said you will die an agonizing death. Skinwalkers can curse people, and cause them great suffering. Often, it is said they use a mixture that some call corpse powder, when seen in their human form, which turns your tongue black and causes violent convulsions until you die. The worst part about skinwalkers? The reason native people dare not speak of it. It is believed that a skinwalker is capable of reading your minds, and the more aware of them you are, the more aware they become of you. So try not to think about it. But, if on your ride home you see a coyote in your path, or hear the drums of native people echoing loudly through the darkness, take care to drive quickly, and pray it will not pursue you. And I would, almost always, be met with looks of horror and fear. It was my absolute favorite tale to tell for this reason. I would tell this story, over and over, to as many groups as I could. It wasn't a good idea to talk about them, I would say as much with each recounting of the legend, and much less in the middle of the desert, surrounded by inky blackness that engulfed everything the park's lights didn't illuminate, but I felt safe. Nothing would happen to me, it was just a legend. That was, until I drove home after my shift, around 1 in the morning, after a night of telling this particular story dozens of times to guests. As I drove through the twists and turns of the pitch-black mountainous desert road I traveled each night to go home, my high beams on, penetrating the darkness just enough for me to see the road and the first layer of brush on either side of it, my headlights shone on an animal. A coyote. At first I thought it was just the angle the lights had hit it at that made it appear to have no tail, but as I continued driving, I encountered the animal again, 3 times, each within several miles of each sighting, a distance any normal animal wouldn't have been able to make, especially when running against a car going 65 miles per hour for most of the journey. Each time I would scan the road for wildlife, and I would see it, there, just outside of the darkness, the coyote with no tail, staring at me from the side of the road. My stomach churned a bit, and I breathed deep, trying to tell myself I was just imagining things. The coyotes had tails, and none of them were the same animal. It wasn't possible. I couldn't be. But I knew deep down, I was lying to myself. I knew I was wrong, I knew it was real, and it was terrifying. I'm relieved to say I made it home safely that night, but still, every now and then, when I drive through the desert in the darkness of night, or glance out my bedroom window into the blackness, I can see that coyote, that skinwalker. I hope it never decides I know too much, but I think that maybe, just maybe, it visits me to remind me of its presence. That it wants me to continue telling this story. To continue spreading awareness of their presence, so that it can claim the lives of those who are weak-minded enough to fall prey to it. And now that you know the story, maybe it will come after you. Third story. This story was shared by you/darkwebjunkie. I saw a skinwalker on Riverdale Road last night. For context, me and my boyfriend go to this winding road called Riverdale Road in Thornton, Colorado. There is numerous things haunting this road, like a phantom Camaro that can run you off the road, or a little girl in a white dress who walks along the side of the road and can appear in your back seat. Or even a jogger who was killed asking for a ride. It's an 11-mile stretch going from Thornton, all the way to Frederick. Anyways, we go pretty frequently but never really saw anything until a couple weeks ago. It was about 2:30 a.m. We were getting onto Riverdale through McKay. As we entered, the air was warm, but there was a pungent smell of horse shit, since people actually do live on this road and have horses and land here. We have our windows down, and not even 2 minutes on the road my boyfriend shouts, "Holy shit, what the fuck was that?" clearly panicking. I asked frantically over and over, "What did you see?" He was silent for a couple seconds, then rolls up his sleeves to uncover the goosebumps on his arm. When I looked over at him, his mouth was wide open with his hand covering it. "I saw a figure, looked like something in a white dress running in the field," he said in a very serious tone. After that we were both shaken up and decided to leave immediately after. The whole ride home consisted of "What the fuck was that?" or "Are you sure that's what you saw?" We went to bed still thinking about what we had seen. He's very good at covering up his emotions, and I almost felt like I was more afraid than him, even though I hadn't seen it. We both were afraid of this road, for good reasons. After this encounter, it wasn't enough to stop us from coming back. We had gone back a couple times after but never saw anything. We just felt like we were being watched. Very eerie feeling, almost sinister. Fast forward to yesterday. It was about 1:30 a.m., the same warm air, but this time it smelled of something rotting. Putrid smell. We go back, and right off the bat, we see 2 dead raccoons not even 100 feet from each other down the road. I didn't have any good feelings about that, and I already knew it wasn't a good sign, but we decided to continue. We traveled on the road 2 times beginning to end without seeing anything, and as we both wanted to leave we said, "Well, fuck it, 3rd time's a charm," and went one last time, except this time, we asked politely that if there was anything out, to show itself, and holy shit, I was not prepared to what I was about to witness. I don't think my boyfriend was ready to what he was about to hear either. As we get towards the middle of this road there is a small concrete barricade on a slight curve, and that's where I saw it. Its pale, scrawny body, bald head, and long arms sitting, almost hunched over the barricade. Right when our car lights illuminate that thing, it swiftly hides behind the barricade, going back into the pitch-black woods behind it. I shout to my boyfriend, "Babe, did you fucking see that thing?" He replies, "No, what?" "What?" "What?" Petrified since he was already on edge. I drive faster and then it hit me. "Babe, I think that was an SW." He looks at me, a look of someone who has just seen a ghost. But it wasn't a ghost, it was something far worse. We left immediately after that, and don't plan on going back anytime soon. I can confidently say that was the most terrifying encounter I have ever had in my entire 20 years of existence. Fourth story. This story was shared by you/Durinovkevich. My Skinwalker story. Arizona. Okay, so to start out, I live in Mesa, Arizona, which is basically Phoenix, Arizona. Because the main cities of Arizona spread out into many sites with no border in between. Mesa is what I would call the suburbs of Phoenix. I changed my name, of course. I live in an apartment complex I would describe as close to the ghetto but still nice. I live in a bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment with my girlfriend. Arizona is a state full of ancient Native American history. I live next to a Hohokam Canal, as do many Arizonians. The whole place used to be cities of ancient Native Americans. The point is, I'm in the area for what I believe to be a skinwalker. I'll get to my story. Yesterday, I was drinking, one of the things I picked up during the COVID-19 quarantine, or what's enforced here. And I decided to smoke a bowl on my apartment patio, which I don't usually do, mind you. I just finished loading up my pipe and taking the first hit when I hear a voice, somewhere nearby. "Amanda, open the door please." It was a young, probably in the 20s girl's voice talking, and it sounded calm and teasing. It continued on as I tried to ignore it, smoking my last bud. After about 4 times of it repeating itself, my curiosity caused me to look for the source. I saw in an apartment building facing across from me movement. I saw a dog standing on its hind legs, leaning on a door, tapping. At first I shrugged, of course. Then I hear the voice again. It sounded exactly the same as last time. Exactly the same, as if you recorded their voice and that sentence and replayed it once again. There wasn't any other sound or movement in the complex. I watched the thing knock on Amanda's door for like 30 seconds in what I would call a state of shock and curiosity. Then it stopped and didn't move for another 20 seconds. Until the dog thing stood all the way up, away from the doorway, on its hind legs, and turned to face me. It made eye contact with me. Which is weird because we were at least 50 yards away. I'm on the 3rd floor, it's on the 2nd, but I felt it looking at me. I held its eye contact. I was so scared, I felt like I should run. Then it got on all 4s and headed down the stairs slowly. At the bottom it started slowly walking over to me. I was on all 4s now, about to go inside or scream, I don't know. But I had to know what this thing was going to do. It walked close to my balcony. Yes, it was a dog, a brownish yellow, dirty looking thing, with big eyes that were 100% attentive to mine. It didn't seem natural, to be honest, but nothing looked wrong at a glance, except that it was staring into my eyes, and wouldn't stop. I ran inside as it reached the bottom of my stairs and locked my doors. Soon I heard clawing at my door, doggy clawing. Next I heard the door handle jiggle, then it started on my porch door. I of course never answered. Instead I hid behind my kitchen counter with a knife. After about 30 minutes it left. I stayed up all night but I didn't see it again, and I didn't go out again. I'm hoping it doesn't come back. I haven't gone outside at night again. I'm burning sage and trying to be careful as I can. Fifth story. Skinwalker at the gas station. This story belongs to a friend of mine. He told me this once, and I simply have to tell it. My friend is of Wikinux heritage, a Native American tribe who settled the Pacific Northwest coast. He is quite the character. For one, he is a whopping 6'10" and has the blackest eyes you could imagine. He always has this frowning face going on, which makes him even more intimidating. He is everything but a bad guy. In fact, he is the most gentle of giants. He was working at a gas station up north back in 1992, and he pretty much always worked the graveyard shift from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. when he was relieved. Business wasn't exactly booming at night, so he was usually watching TV or reading magazines between customers. And they were few. The area he lived and worked in was deeply associated with all things Native American. There was a potent sense of pride in the surrounding communities, but also a very distinct presence of superstition and old traditions. My friend was no exception. He was a firm believer of the ways of the old. This made his encounter even more terrifying. One night, he was sitting as usual watching TV when a customer entered the gas station. The customer paid for his gas, a pack of smokes and some soda, and returned to his car. Nothing unusual. But as my friend looked out the window toward the customer's car, he spotted what looked like a huge dog sitting by the edge of the woods. Now, the window is located on the side of the building, some distance from the sliding door, overlooking the pumps and the roof covering it. On the sides of the roof are pretty strong halogen lights which shine into the gas station. This gives the gas station not only an eerie lighting with the blinds casting long, striped shadows, but also blinds the teller to an extent. As he peered through the window, trying to focus on the dog, it was gone. He didn't think much of it. Even if it was a wolf, he was inside, and wolves don't tend to rob gas stations at night. Wolves were common here, but this wolf was huge. He brushed it off and returned to his mindless watching of the TV. A couple of hours go by and not a single customer has entered since the last one. He was just about to refill some condiments when he heard a large thud coming from the back. It wasn't inside, he could hear that. But it came from the back, and behind the building they keep the garbage. The gas station had been visited before by scavenging homeless, but my friend didn't really care. It wasn't his garbage, and it was just garbage. Let them take it. But it kept getting noisier. He decided to grab a flashlight and a gun from the office and circle around the back to tell whoever ventured there to leave, as he had had enough. His presence alone would have scared off anyone, but he wanted to feel safe just in case. He exited through the sliding doors, walking past the window he was just sitting by. As he turned the corner, he shines the light toward the dumpsters. As the cone of light hits the dumpsters, my friend instantly drops the flashlight and the gun. It's the huge dog he saw before, scouring through the garbage. It wasn't a dog though. It clearly stood on its hind legs, reaching the same height as himself. It couldn't be a bear as it was too gaunt. The creature's eyes had been glowing in the light of the flashlight, making it even more terrifying. He ran inside the gas station, and he wasn't followed. He locked the door, stayed inside the whole night and quit the next day. My friend is still convinced that he saw a skinwalker. A shape-shifting shaman of sorts that are a common occurrence in Native American lore and culture. So sorry for the absence of blood, guts and glory. It's just a really creepy story. Thanks a lot for watching the video till the end. subscribe to our channel Horror in Detail. Drop your opinions/suggestions in the comments section, and like the video as it helps with the YouTube algorithm.